Good day. Kevin asked us to kick off with the rand against the American dollar, and we can see that it's still caught within that descending channel. It's changed that red line, which represents the 40-week moving average, into a support, and that is seen as positive. Technically, when the rand can change that 1428, which is that upper band, the resistance, into a support, we can see more weakness in the rand. And we know that the target of a descending channel is the width of the channel projected upwards from that point where the channel was confirmed. Now we know sometimes it just breaks it, finds resistance and retraces again, and that is that is called a whipsaw or a false break. But in theory, when that descending channel is confirmed, we can see the rand around 1556. But interesting enough, we've seen a couple of times here on the 18th of February, 31st of December, 24th of December, 17th of December, every time the rand found resistance there on that upper band of the descending channel and retraced from it. So the rand might easily do that again. But our line in the sand and our torch that can be used will be that 40-week moving average, and that is waiting at 14 rand and 2 cents. As long as the rand remains above 1402, we can assume that the weakening trend will continue to higher levels. But as soon as it starts to consolidate below 1402 again, we might see more strength. Interesting enough, I also want to look at the rand against the British pound, because that descending channel was already confirmed and has broken upwards. So we can see the rand against the British pound has already started to move into the weakening trend. And again, that 40-week moving average is the key. Above that moving average waiting at 1823, we can see more weakness in the rand against the British pound, and again below that more strength. Wilhelmine wanted us to look at ABSA, and ABSA, let me just find it. There you go. ABSA has been caught in this small descending channel, but we know that the overall trend of ABSA at the moment is upwards. The share has found a little bit of a pause, a small pullback, and when the share can find support again above this 181 rand 21, and it changes that upper band into a support, the overall uptrend of the share can continue. And that is what we will call a bullish flag formation. So it's an overall uptrend, a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a breather, a pullback. And when that upper band changes into a support, the overall trend to higher levels can continue. However, we've seen one, twice, and 3 times this upper band was tested, remained a resistance, and retraced from it. So when the share changes this lower band, waiting at 165 rand 73 into a resistance again, we can assume that the levels to the bottom will continue. And then the big level, obviously, to watch on a weekly graph is the 40-week moving average, which is represented by this red line. So Wilhelmine, technically only above this upper band 181.56, we can see ABSA continue to higher levels, and below this lower band, lower levels. My stochastic indicator has got a little bit of a divergence here already, and it can go either way. This blue line, which is the shorter moving average, can easily break upwards should the share reach for higher levels, or it might just glide over that red line and reach for lower levels again. It's not an ideal overbought territory for a short yet, but my candles tells me that there's definitely selling pressure in ABSA. So if you want to short, maybe consider a short that 181.56 I would use as a stop loss, and an easy target will be the 40-week moving average, and that is waiting at the 161 rand 59. Sasol is another share that has got a massive head and shoulder formation on it, and it can easily make investors a little bit nervous when that neckline, which is represented by this trend line here, changes into a resistance. And that is waiting at 408 rand and 82. And what is also a little bit of a concern is that this level is lower than this level. And technically, when the share changes 407 rand 28 into a resistance, a lower high would be confirmed. A lower high is literally lower levels of high points. So this level is lower than that high level, and that is seen as negative. It means that the share is losing steam, and that the buyers are not that keen to lift the share price to higher levels, and that they might not be keen buyers to take the share from the one strength to the other. The share is also trading on the weekly graph below this 40-week moving average, and that is always the barometer in the sand that tells us that the sentiment towards the share has changed to negative when this 40-week moving average changed into a resistance here around the 12th of November. Errol wanted us to look at DRD. Now, DRD, we know, is a gold counter on this JSE, on the South African market, and this share has really struggled a little bit. Since about November 2017, it just reached for lower levels. But we can see at the moment, and I want to zoom it out here for our viewers, it's fighting this red line, the 40-week moving average. And technically, we will remain negative about the share as long as it remains below this 40-week moving average. If the share changes this 40-week moving average, waiting at 3.30 Rand into a support again, it can easily go and try to test that upper band of that strong resistance line that has been formed since about November 2017. These upper shadows on my candles on the week of the 18th of Feb as well as the 25th of Feb tells me that the buyers were not strong enough to let the share break through this resistance and reach for higher levels. Errol, this 40-week moving average is your torch. That is your line in the sand. Above it, we can see higher levels. Below it, a little bit negativity. My stochastic indicator is also in no man's land. Not interested, not really giving us clear direction here. I would wait for that 40-week moving average to change into a support, and especially this upper trend line. And we will know when this strong support that waits here at 2.91 Rand changes into a resistance again, we can assume that the fear or the pressure would remain, and we can see the share maybe even reaching for lower levels. Errol wanted also, obviously, for us to look at the gold price, which makes a lot of sense if you look at DRT gold. And interesting enough, this strong horizontal line that I've drawn in here is waiting at $1,357. Now, this has been a resistance that was tested a couple of times. And you can see every time the gold price reached that level, it just retraced from there. So interesting enough, not very far from 1357, the gold price at $1,346 found resistance and retraced again. Yes, it was extremely overbought. So it was the probability of this instrument to reach for lower levels was highly likely. And it is understandable that the gold price is taking a breather for lower levels. But having said that, and we might be maybe too early to say this, but with all the turmoil and the uncertainty in the world around tariff headings, and the trade war, the gold price might find support somewhere, and it can even be here around lower levels. But if it finds support somewhere and starts to reach for higher levels, we might have an inverse head and shoulder formation here. And let me maybe just draw this in. We might have an inverse head and shoulder formation here. My crayon is giving me a hard time there. There you go. But somewhere here, if it finds support and it reaches for higher levels, we might have an inverse head and shoulder formation. And an inverse head and shoulder formation is a positive formation, which tells me that despite all the pullback and the breather, that there was buyers that were prepared to take the instrument to higher levels. But it's too early to say that. My indicator is still very toppish on the stochastic. It is pointing downwards, which tells me that the instrument can even reach for lower levels. But I'm going to keep an eye on this gold price, and maybe we can find somewhere support, and an inverse head and shoulder might be confirmed. But remember, this inverse head and shoulder will only be confirmed when this neckline changes into a support. And then we know at $1,357, that is a strong resistance that needs to be overcome. But that is a nice instrument to keep on your radar for the future. Sarah wanted us to look at Capitec, and we can see that this share has had a massive rally to the upside. Interesting enough, the share found strong resistance there around 1,320 Rand. And when that tweezer top was confirmed there below 1,274 Rand 60, the share even reached for lower levels. Now, a tweezer top is when two consecutive candles has found resistance on almost the same level at the top. And that is a warning formation, which tells me that the selling pressure are fierce and that there's a lot more sellers that are taking profits than there are buyers who want to accumulate the share. Another interesting thing that I just want to highlight about Capitec is the fact that it's moved so far away from its 40-week moving average. Now, this is a weekly graph, and a 40-week moving average is the average closing price of the share represented over the last 40 weeks. So this tells me that when it's run that far away from the 40-week moving average, it means that they might have been too optimistic about the share and that the share might just have to take a breather and retrace again to normal levels, to the average levels over the last 40 weeks. The indicator on the stochastic is also heavily overbought at the moment, and we can see that there's a divergence telling me that the share is losing momentum and that their selling pressure is on the table. So, Sarah, technically, if you're not short already, you can remain short below this 127,427 Rand, and the targets towards the bottom is the low of this candle, which is waiting at 1,227 Rand and 5 cents. 1,203 Rand 66, and even 1,174 Rand 47. We can assume that the momentum to the top will continue again when that top there at 1,320 Rand changes into a support again.